All right, welcome to this week's edition of Talkin' Nerdy. I'm Scott, this is Joe. Apologize for the late edition. We had a little bit of technical difficulty on my end. Look, new podcast, you just sometimes have to deal with these things. So welcome to all of you to week 2. We didn't scare you off. This pod has been really great. We've got a great response. The first show, I think we had over 80 views, which, to me, 80 people watched this. Really, you all have nothing better to do with your lives, which is awesome. So we're looking forward to another fun discussion. With me, as always, is my hetero life mate, Joe.
What's up, brothers?
So welcome to everybody in the chat tonight. We want everybody to participate. EC, I see you did your Terrifier homework. Fantastic. We're looking forward to talking about that tonight.
Yes, I got my 2 New World pre-order brothers in here with us. Thanks for joining.
Awesome. So everybody, if you're in and you're watching, hit the like button. The pod is going to be adding all kinds of cool stuff, Facebook page and all kinds of really neat ways to interact with us. We're really looking forward to a lot more information from you guys as we get this rolling. So Joe, what have you been up to since we last met 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, so I started a YouTube channel on toy hunts. I've actually got more viewers than I thought I would. So it's a work in progress, but I appreciate each and every one of the people who have watched the videos. I can't tell you how much support I have, man. It's unbelievable. I've got to know so many people in this community, and I can't say enough about them, man. It's an awesome community to be part of, and I appreciate them all, and just the hints that they've given me and the tips, and it's really helped me get more like courage to do what I'm doing out there, talking to yourself in the middle of a toy aisle. So it's fucking awesome, and I love it, and I can't wait to do more.
Well, at least now it has purpose, and people don't just look at you like they did when we were younger.
Yeah. Got that.
Look, the last 2 weeks since we met really have been kind of a bit of a whirlwind here. I was down for the count with COVID. Was kind of out of commission until last weekend. But I did get caught up on a lot of, Netflix and a lot of shows I've been meaning to watch and hadn't gotten around to
that.
Yep. Yeah. Well, look, we can't move, and you'd really
Love
don't
you
feel
too,
like
Dre.
moving. So I'll tell you, one show that I did kind of get into was it's a show on CBS called Ghosts. Have you seen this show?
I have not. No, I have not.
So it takes place in an upstate bed and breakfast, right? It's got Rose McIver, who was in iZombie on the CW network years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So she plays this bed and breakfast owner, right, that hits her head during renovations and now can suddenly see all of the ghosts that haunt this, 200-year-old mansion. And I got to be honest, it's hysterical. I didn't think I would like it because, like everybody says, oh, it's the greatest comedy on TV. And you look at it and it's like, no, this is shit. But I legitimately found myself laughing at this show more than once. So, they were short episodes. I caught it on one of the streaming services. I think I got through like a whole season in a day.
Damn.
So,
COVID will do that. COVID will make you catch up on shit.
So look,
thankfully
there was a blessing.
Yeah, thankfully you didn't have it. I mean, you had it, I guess, bad, but not terrible, bad the way it could have been. So I'm glad of that. Glad you're feeling better, and
back up.
So so the reason why a few of these people are here is because we want to talk about Terrifier 2, and I watched that last night.
I actually went to see it the day before I found out I was positive for COVID. So if anybody in that theater got it, I'm really sorry.
Yeah, but as you said, there was only a couple of you in there, so
yeah.
And I don't know why, because we can go ahead and give our opinions on it if you want to go first, or I whatever you want to do. But there's a few things that
we have not shared our opinions yet, so we don't know what the other one thinks.
No, and
So
EC, I told him the exact same thing I told you. I will not let anybody know what I thought until today at 7. So, yeah, we're
yeah,
here to, So if you want to go first, it's up to you. But whatever you want
okay.
to do.
Well, look, let's give a little bit of backstory on Terrifier 2. So, if you had seen Terrifier 1, was an independent horror film done several years ago, based out of New Jersey, about a character named Art the Clown who spent the entire movie terrifying and murdering people. Um, ergo the name Terrifier. So, Terrifier 2 picks up where Terrifier 1 leaves off. I don't want to spoil anything, so to tell you that Art is back and is wreaking mayhem a year later after the events of Terrifier 1. This one, it's got a little bit of a bigger budget. You can kind of see that in the way the film is made. There's a lot of cameos in it, including AEW's own Chris Jericho, which I thought
Y2J.
was really clever. And then, look, overall for me, I thought the story was really well done. I mean, look, suspension of disbelief a little bit because, look, the clown comes back from the dead. I'm not giving anything away here. And the sheer fact that, the way he kills people, it's way over the top. But this movie to me is everything that horror is missing. In the entire 2 movies, Art doesn't say a single word. There is no dialogue for Art the Clown. But his facial expressions make the entire movie for me. Literally is one of my favorite movie characters. Look, are there things that I didn't like about it? Sure. I mean, it was a 2.5-hour horror movie, and it got a little slow in parts. Rarely do you see a horror movie that long anymore. They're usually, 90 to 2 hours. But I'll say that, when you got to the end, I thought the end was super clever. I thought, it was a little predictable in spots, but the kill scenes were amazing and really creative and really well done. And the special effects were really good. And please tell me, for those of you that have seen it, that you have the Clown Cafe song stuck in your head like I did for days after. You were literally singing it to
Yeah,
yourself.
for sure. For sure.
You go through and hum it. But for me, 2 enthusiastic thumbs up. I mean, just unbelievably good. I am dying to hear what you think.
So I'll go back. When you first told me, I never heard about this movie. Me and you started talking about it. I believe I talked to EC about it, and he instantly was interested in watching it, and he did. I loved part 1. As cheesy as it was, I loved it because that's what horror movies are supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
When I found out part 2 was coming out, I was trying to scramble to see when I can go see it before this podcast came on, but I was running out of time. So when you told me it was coming on Screambox, I was like, that works. I'll watch it there. And I said, look, I said to my wife, we're watching it tonight before Raw, and I have to. And I want you to watch it with me. She did. She closed her eyes a lot. She hid under the blanket a lot. I love the movie. I absolutely love the movie. It was better than part 1. The only part I didn't like was the magical sword scene at the end.
Okay.
I thought that just brought like an extra realm into it that we didn't need. That movie could have been ended 15 minutes prior, and I just don't think that part fit the rest of the first movie and the first hour and 55 minutes of the second movie, if that makes sense. That's the only part I did not like. Other than that, I loved it. I'd watch it again. I will watch it again. But that was the only part. I mean, and it didn't bother me too much. I was just like, why did they go that route when they really didn't need to?
Well, look, I mean, I think in the end, this movie does a lot of things in excess. I mean, EC brings up a great scene where, where Art kills that girl in bed, and he literally is laying with her and kind of playing with her a little bit, and the mom walks in.
I mean,
look, there's that. I mean, look, could that scene have been cut short? Sure, but it just was so hysterically funny
The
from
only
a
part that
gory
I actually
standpoint.
would have cut would have been that magical sword part. That's it. Everything else was
Yeah,
fine.
yeah,
Everything else was exactly what I love in
yeah,
horror
and I
movies.
agree with you.
I love it. I
Um,
love the part. I loved, and there might be some spoilers here. I'm sorry, but I know EC watched it. I don't know if Dre will watch it. I don't know if it's this type of movie, but if you
well, I
haven't
hope
seen it,
everybody that's listening watches it.
I'm sorry if you didn't, but we're here to talk about it and review it, and that's what we're going to do. I'm sorry, but I'm going to let you know ahead of time. You can jump on out. But when he took her hand and he split the fingers wide open, just like he split the lady in the first part of the first
Right.
movie in half, and then he took the lady's arm and started wiggling and breaking it. I mean, this is what I like. It sounds sick, but this is what I like. This is what I want in a horror movie. I don't want
Yeah.
pussified horror anymore. I'm tired of it.
Well, look,
I'm tired of pussified everything.
that's what good horror is. I mean, think back to like Friday the 13th, right? And in that, you literally had Jason Voorhees picking up a camper in a sleeping bag and smacking it against the side of a tree, and you hear the crack. That's the
Yeah,
kind of stuff that
that's what I
horror
want.
movies now are missing, and that's what Terrifier's bringing back. So,
Yeah, yeah, and I
um,
appreciate it. And like I'm super excited to go meet this clown in person in full costume with you. And who to
yes,
watch and who to go better with than you? I mean, you're the one that
it's
got me into it.
exactly. Well, and
So
that's kind of cool. And to make some points, we had some people in the chat were mentioning it's been they've greenlit Terrifier 3 and 4 already. So
yeah,
we're going to get a lot more Art the Clown, and I, for one, hope it doesn't take nearly as long for them to
yeah,
make the second one as it did. Um, but look, I'm really excited to see where the story goes next because
yeah. I mean, it took
the fact,
5 years, right, for between the
yeah.
first and second one,
Well,
and that's
and
not
think
a
about it,
bad
and
thing. That's not a bad thing because
but
honestly, they rush things and and it's like the last Halloween. It's a waste. The last
don't get me
um
started.
yeah, the last Halloween was a
Don't get me
waste.
started.
The last Texas Chainsaw was a total waste.
Hmm.
Take your time.
What
Those
was not
ones
a
you
waste?
gotta know when to
The new
stop.
Hellraiser. Yeah, what was
I
not a
have not
waste was
seen
the
that
new
yet. I
Hellraiser.
have not seen that yet, but
Oh,
I think EC has. He has mentioned that
yeah,
to me, but I do want to watch that. I just gotta stop being so cheap and start ordering some of these other services.
you
But
really do because you squeak when you walk.
well, I gotta spend. I gotta go on my hunts, man. I gotta get my toys, man. I gotta get my toy fix.
So one of the things that we're really excited about is I think I mentioned last time is I'm heavily into horror convention, big time. Go to them all the time. Was supposed to go to one last weekend in Parsippany, and Chiller kind of knocked. That was Chiller and Parsippany and kind of got knocked out because of COVID. But we have Monster Mania in 2 weeks, November the 13th. Joe and I are going. We got our tickets.
Hmm.
As Joe had mentioned, look, the cast, the entire cast, the main cast of Terrifier will be there. That's the two kids and Art the Clown, and they're doing a really cool makeup session where Art, the guy that plays Art, David Thornton, is going to be in full Art the Clown costume, and he's doing photo ops. And Joe and I have already purchased one that we will be doing together. Um,
Can't wait.
so we'll share it up on the pod after because I believe we have the pod that Tuesday after we come back. So that'll be a full report on Joe's first horror convention. Um,
And I can't believe it's my first. As much as I loved horror, it's weird to say it's my first, but you know
well,
what?
what's going to be
It's
cool is you're
fine.
going to knock him out, and you're going to get Robert Englund in the same show because he's there that weekend
Yeah,
too.
exactly. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm going to be really kind of living vicariously a little bit through you because, I've met Robert Englund. I've got,
Hmm.
some of these and these autograph pieces. So I'm really kind of excited to see you experience this for the first time too. Because you've got not just Freddy Krueger, but you've also got, Nancy will be there as well.
Yeah, I mean, these are the guys. These are the guys I grew up on. So
Mhm.
to meet them finally at 49 years old, it's like, man, Jesus. I mean, I finally get to meet these guys, and yeah, it's going to be fun. I can't wait. I really can't wait.
Yeah, and it's going to be cool. And then, um, Joe and I will also be going to another show, it looks like, here at the end of November, the weekend after Monster Mania. We're going to go to StellarCon in Bel Air, Maryland.
Yep.
We're going to see a bunch of folks from The Walking Dead, and
Mhm.
we're getting
Ezekiel.
Yep, we're getting Ezekiel from The Walking Dead. We're getting some voice actors from video games and cartoons. I'm
Mhm.
particularly excited because the guy from Assassin's Creed is going to be there and doing some work in the first, from the first two Assassin's Creed
Yeah.
games, which was really big for me. It was something I really, when I saw that he was going to be there, I got super excited. Um, Sorry, the dog just came by and distracted. So
I get that
every
all the
once in a while, the dog will walk back and forth.
time.
So yeah. So we're real psyched about that, and hopefully we'll do a little bit of not just convention work, but we'll also do a little bit of toy hunting for Joe because some of these shows do have, you know, some collectibles. So
Oh yeah,
we'll
I'll be
hopefully have
filming a
some.
lot. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
we'll do
sure.
some reporting and kind of bring some of that stuff back here for everybody, so everyone can kind of get a feel for that. So Joe, I know you watched Terrifier 2 and you got your Art the Clown fix, and welcome to Screenbox. You're gonna love it. It's well worth the $5 a month that it costs.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I'll keep it.
so um, so talked about your Halloween. What did you guys do anything? I mean, do you have a lot of trick or treaters?
We have zero trick or treaters where I live. There's about 10 houses on my lane, as you know, and there's no kids. And primarily, that's one of the nice things about this neighborhood is we don't get a lot of. It's not that I love Halloween. It's just that our last neighborhood, we had a lot of kids. Some of the kids were a little destructive, and we just wanted to get away into a place
Savages.
where, yeah, we just want to get away to a place where it's quiet, relaxing, and not have to, worry about your car getting full with at night and this and that. So we're in a good place now. But unfortunately, with the good, you take the bad. We don't have the trick or treaters, and I enjoyed seeing some of the costumes they come up with. So I did miss that, but
You
you
are
know, I,
legit two
I love
steps away
Halloween.
from Obi-Wan Kenobi. I want you to realize that. You live in an
Why is that?
isolated street.
Oh, because
Because
of
you
the
live on
hood.
an isolated street, you
Oh.
never leave a house, and you're wearing a hood.
Well, I do leave the house a lot. I'm barely ever home, but oh shit.
Jesus. So here the town I live at, I mean, people will bus kids into our neighborhood because
Yeah.
we
So
live in the
yeah.
biggest neighborhood in Northeast where
Hmm.
I live. I mean, last year we probably got about 400 kids.
Hmm.
This year we were significantly less because it rained, but we had probably still 200. We went through a lot of candy, um,
Jesus.
so. But to get to some of the comments, I do collect some. A lot of the toys that I have are very old, like the old Star Wars figures. I'm mostly into pops now. I have a really good pop collection going that, as soon as I get my basement finished, I'm going to be displaying prominently. But a lot of the stuff that I do is horror collectibles. Things like that. Like, I've got like one of the movie used puzzle boxes from Hellraiser. Um, things like that. Some knives from different Halloweens and Friday the 13th. Some things I picked up at different shows. A lot of art pieces that I like. But I do still have a good amount of my old Star Wars toys as a kid, and even from episode 1, 2, and 3. As much as we don't like to acknowledge the canon, I still have a lot of the toys. Um, oh, the horror statues from they are amazing. They really are. I've got a few, not from that particular artist, but I've got a couple of different ones. Um, yeah, pops are a gateway. You're not wrong because everywhere I go, that's where they are. It's always one of the first stops at horror conventions is where is the stand with all the pops? I've even got the app on my phone that tracks what my collection's worth. Not that I'll ever sell any of it, but I do like to track what they're worth. And Dre, thank you for the questions. It great to meet you and welcome to the pod. We really want to encourage everybody to feel free to ask questions, get to know us, get to know what we're interested in. We're Joe and I know a lot about each other because, like I said, we've known each other since the 4th grade. So we've grown up together. So we know just about everything there is to know. But look, we always take that for granted, and we want this show to be about as much about you guys as it is with us. So,
definitely.
So one of the things I thought we could talk about too is, look, with Halloween just passing yesterday, I thought we could do top 5 horror movies of all time for each of us. But here's the catch: we're gonna go from 5 to 1. And if I say one, you've got to do a different one. Like, we can't repeat.
Okay, that's fair.
All right. And since it's my idea, I'm going to let you go first.
So number 5, since I have my top 4 on my other podcast with EC, I'm going to snag one of those and say the remake of The Hills Have Eyes at number 5.
That is such a good movie.
It is.
To me, that is one of those movies where you literally, it lives up to the first one.
It did, and that's why I like it. A lot of remakes don't do that.
No.
That one may have been a little bit better than the original, but that's why, as you'll see in a few more minutes, why the other one might be a little bit ahead, unless you screw me and take.
And by the way, The Hills Have Eyes absolutely could happen. Hands down.
Yeah,
that's what makes it scary. I completely agree with the chat. 100% could absolutely happen. So,
and that's why I like movies that can actually happen. I don't want to watch something that is so outlandish that, it's not going to scare me because I know it's not going to happen. But anyway, go ahead. You're number 5.
No, of course. For me, my number 5, and this is more kind of a nostalgic thing because I think it's like one of the first horror movies I remember seeing, Nightmare on Elm Street.
I can't argue that one.
That movie is an absolute classic. It scared all of us when we were kids.
Yeah.
It was really one of the first horror movies I ever remember seeing. Loved it. Look, Robert Englund is beloved to this day. That character still gives people. I had 2 Freddy Kruegers yesterday trick-or-treating. It's really great to still see it be a part of pop culture.
Yeah.
So
now, let me ask you: are you are you encumbering the whole series or a particular movie on that one?
Oh, it's the first one. It's always going to be the first one.
But if I was to say, like, just for instance, Friday the 13th, are we talking like? Do I have to name a particular one, or are we just talking about series?
No, we're going to go the particular one. I'm going to make this tough on you. It's a cop-out if you take the whole canon. Because, look, there are certain Nightmare on Elm Street movies I would not want to claim.
Okay, yeah, true. I just wanted to make sure. Okay.
No, that's fair.
So my number 4.
So what's your 4th?
My number 4 would be... I would have to say... the original Hills Have Eyes.
Ooh. So you're going the original on top of the remake.
Yes. I like the original. I like original everything. For the most part, let's just say. Right. And you'll see that as we go on. I'm old school, man. I love that shit.
Yeah. I'm gonna give you that. I think for me, number 4 is going to be House of a Thousand Corpses. Rob Zombie's first horror film.
Good one. I love Rob Zombie.
It's the introduction of one of my favorite horror characters of all time. Captain Spaulding. Sid Haig. The guy was a genius and really one of the nicest people on the planet. I have a picture with myself and a couple of my buddies at a horror convention right before he passed away. We had an opportunity to get a picture of him in the Captain Spaulding outfit. Really one of the coolest memories I have. So for me, that's my number 4.
Okay. Getting down to the nitty gritty. Number 3, the original Friday the 13th, where the mother is the killer. It was new. It was fresh at the time. It was low budget at the time. They did move up a little bit. There's not a whole, after number 4 or 5, it's kind of dead for me. But number 1, I thought was unique and really good at the time. And it still is. I watched every day of the week. I love that movie. Friday the 13th, 1.
All right. So number 3 for me is going to be the original Halloween, the 1978 Donald Pleasance, Jamie Lee Curtis Halloween.
Okay.
There is something really creepy about everything about Michael Myers, from the fact that he was the social distancing champion even back in 1978.
He really was.
But my man, like, just that whole thing of him just standing behind those bushes just was creepy as hell.
Like a creeper, hell yeah.
Just so freaking awesome. But all right, your next one. I think we're up to number 2.
Yeah. So number 2 is the original Saw.
Oh,
and because nobody, and I mentioned this with EC the other day on our podcast, like, I don't think anybody expected the man in the middle of the floor to be the guy behind it all in the original one. And I just thought it was very unique. I still think it's one of the most unique series ever, because it can happen. Again, it can happen.
It was the birth of horror porn.
Yeah, it's an awesome movie. I mean, you got it's everything you really want. I mean, you want to play a game, you got to take that key out of your stomach to save this person who's locked up. Choose. I love that shit. So
and by the way, the guys from Saw literally are some of the nicest people. Shawnee Smith was actually supposed to Chiller this past weekend.
Shawnee Smith from Summer School, the pregnant chick. Yes.
What was cool is I have a picture with her and the Billy puppet in my office.
Yeah. And one year I actually considered getting that costume and getting a life-size human adult tricycle and riding it right through my old neighborhood, right through the woods, and scaring the piss out of everybody.
Well, the funny story is, as you know, I work in human resources, right? So I'm a director of human resources for a company, and I encourage, dressing up on Halloween and doing all kinds of fun things for the employees. So I was working for a company at the time, and Halloween was a big deal. We would have decorating contests and all kinds of cool stuff. And my assistant at the time actually did that. She dressed up as the Billy puppet and got on a tricycle and went out and delivered paychecks on that day, dressed as the Billy puppet. It was amazing, freaking people out. So number 2 for me is going to be The Devil's Rejects. It is the follow-up to House of a Thousand Corpses. For me, this story is completely plausible because, look, in Texas, that kind of weird shit could happen. And look, at the end of it, I will tell you that the end of that movie is really literally one of the perfect endings to a horror movie. That whole, Leonard Skinner, just shoot out on the highway, just a brilliant end to a movie. All right, so now we're to your number 1.
So anybody who knows me knows my number 1. I say it every time, no matter where I go. The original 1974 Tobe Hooper Texas Chainsaw Massacre has to be number 1, hands down. I mean, the iconic dance at the end with the chainsaw in the middle of the street. It's everything I wanted and more. Yeah, they ruined it with this last one, but I can forgive them because of so many good ones that they made in the past. But the number 1, definitely the 1974 original version of it.
Oh, no doubt. For me, number one all time is going to be Hellraiser, the original Hellraiser. Doug Bradley, Clive
Good
Barker.
one too.
Look,
There's no wrong answer in this. That's the thing.
no, and it's
That's
just really
because they're
based
all
on
good.
it's based on opinion, and it's based on
Yeah.
you know. Look, to me, the rewatchability of Hellraiser, it doesn't matter. I probably watch it 20 times a year,
Yeah.
and it doesn't get old. Like, look, are the special effects bad? Absolutely.
That's okay.
But just the sheer fact that you have some of the most iconic lines ever coming out of that movie. Um, and those are a couple of other great ones there. The Thing and Phantasm.
Yeah.
The Phantasm is up there for me too. It's a hard choice. Child's Play. Look,
Yeah. They're all there, man.
me,
They're in the top 20. They're all there.
and look, for me, Child's Play, it was great when it first came out, and I think they've watered it down a lot with the remakes and now the TV show. And it's kind of killed the original story a little bit for me. And look, that's what happens with a lot of these horror movies is they bleed out. Jaws definitely up there as well. Yeah, definitely one of the most quoted movies in my house, by the way. And look, they had to water it down. I agree with the number of times that they told the story, and they bastardized it a little bit, and they added the female puppet. And to me, it just kind of took a lot of the fun out of that, of what it was really clever in the beginning and scary as hell. I mean, God, scary as hell. But if you look overall at story, look, and it's hard to look at a list and go, God, this should be in there. And you're right. Like, I think about a movie like Jaws, which, by the way, is in my top 5 movies of all time.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
But you look at it and you go, I look, to this day, I still sometimes get a little nervous going in the ocean. I mean, look, if you look at me, I'm like a buffet. I go into the shark's house and I'm not coming out. That would be like, a cow or a pig walking into my living room. It's going to end up on the plate. That's literally like what I'm going to do. Just don't go in the shark's house, people.
All right.
But yeah, and look, there's so many great options.
Yeah,
really,
there are.
And look, my list could probably change every year. It really could. But to me, those are the 5 that when I come to Halloween season, but they're 5 that I could watch even if it was like February.
I could watch them on Christmas Day. I mean, it's either that or Christmas Story, and I'm not watching that anymore.
Hey, look, we have the sequel coming out in 2 weeks.
The beauty of these horror movies is, like, we grew up in a really good time.
We did.
We grew up, like, I would not want to grow up in a different time than we grew up. We had the best shows, TV shows, movies, everything, sports.
Well, we talked about it last week. I mean, everything now is a retread.
Yeah, it's hard to pick 5, but those 5 are probably my favorite. But like you said, they could change. The number 1 will definitely never change. That's just, he's my guy, and that's, Leatherface is my guy. That's it.
You could break it into genres. You could say, hey, what are your top 5 of the 70s, the 80s, the 90s? Now.
You can go on and on and on. The beauty of it is,
it.
There's so many movies that you can sit down and enjoy, and now you have another. Maybe in the future, this will be an iconic movie.
It's headed
Terrifier.
that way.
Terrifier is headed that way. So this could be another one where 2 jerks will come to a realization that they could do a podcast 25 years from now and say, hey, Terrifier 1 and 2 are my top 1 and 2. You never know.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, think about it. Like, Art the Clown has already started to become... And let's think about this for a minute. This was an independent film, an independent horror film, that legitimately, in limited release, did $5 million in one weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, that's unheard of.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So the sheer fact that they are getting that kind of publicity, one, tells a lot about the state of horror right now. With and you look at it, and I think I talked a little bit about one of the other movies that I wanted to mention. If you haven't had a chance to see it yet, and I watched it while I was laid up with COVID, was a movie called X.
Yeah,
Um,
people been talking about that, and that's on my list too. Yeah.
it's a great movie. It's about a group of people that go out into the Texas wilderness and end up renting a farmhouse from a husband and wife to film a porno. Thus the title X. But what turns out is that the wife is a homicidal maniac and literally spends the entire movie picking these kids off. It's fantastic.
Well, no need to
Um,
watch that. Thanks.
I'm not giving anything away. You still have to see how it's done. You have to see. I didn't
Yeah, I'm
give
gonna.
away how it ends.
It's
There's a
definitely on my
twist at
list.
the end.
I think Colin. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you told me about that movie. It was either you or Carlos. One of you guys told me about that movie.
Yeah, and I tell you, there's a prequel to it called Pearl, which
Hmm.
the lady in the house, her name is Pearl, and it
Hmm.
actually goes back to um, her origin story. That was amazing as well.
So where can
Just
I catch that? Is that on HBO or
I caught X was on Showtime.
Showtime?
Pearl's going to be on Screenbox at the end of the month.
Okay.
So I
I'm
have
definitely
become
keeping
a
Screenbox. They have a lot of shit on there. I like it. Yeah, so I might
yeah.
definitely
Look,
keep that.
I have and look, I signed up for it right before I gave that to you when I found out Terrifier was on there. And look, I couldn't be happier. It's $5 a month.
Yeah, it's cheap.
Um,
Yeah. People
you
catch
know,
on to it. It's going to go up to $20 a month, but that's like anything
well,
else.
look. Hopefully, we'll be grandfathered in. But
No,
um,
AC watched it on Prime. So that's another
okay,
thing that I really never had to get is Prime. I get delivery free anyway, so I don't. I'm going to give it a shot and maybe get Prime. Get into the
you
90s.
cheap bastard.
I'd get all my shipping free anyway. Anything over $25 is free, so I never found the need to do it. But
Yeah.
now Eagles are on Thursday, so I'm either going to order that or come to your house and watch it. So make your choice.
Well, it's on Fox. Well, I don't know if it's going to be on
It
Fox
might.
now
I don't know.
locally because the
It
Phillies
might
are
be
on
on.
Thursday night.
It actually
Yeah.
might be on like that little ABC channel that's like 1197 or whatever in standard
Yeah, right.
definition. But
So
it's terrible to watch
for
like
those of
that.
you that yeah, for those of you that don't know, Joe and I are right at the Delaware Maryland border. So we're essentially in Philadelphia's backyard. So we both grew up Philadelphia fans. So don't hold that against us. As you see, I'm fully supporting the Phillies in the World Series tonight, Game
Damn
3.
right. Go Phils.
Yes, we're very excited here. I'm a little nervous, but that's another story for another day. Um, so
Don't be nervous. Hey,
the one thing
worst case, we had a nice ride this year.
we
We didn't
did, look,
expect.
we
We
got
didn't expect it. We didn't
way
expect
further
it.
than I thought.
And we're having
But
an awesome year with the Eagles as well. Even the if you watch soccer,
hmm
um, the Union's doing well.
they made it to the
Yeah,
finals.
it's a good time in Philly, man. It's a good
But
time.
let me to loop back. I got one other movie for you to check out, Barbarian. Okay,
Got
it's
a
on
newer
HBO
one.
Max. Yeah, it's a new
Somebody
one.
else mentioned this the other day too.
Yeah, Barbarian. Great story, really clever. It's got a lot of people in it that you'll know. Justin Long, who was in Dodgeball and um, several other movies that you'll recognize.
I'm ready to
Plays one of
go.
my favorite characters, Brandon St. Randy from Zack and Miri Make a Porno. Um, so,
Um,
but yeah,
what
definitely
what is Barbarian on? Is that a Showtime as well or?
HBO Max. It was on HBO Max. Just premiered. I watched it last weekend. Um, once I got done watching football on Saturday, I watched it, and I liked it. I mean, look, the story got a little slow in certain points, but at the end, it all made sense why it moved at that pace. Um, I thought it was really clever. Um, Definitely did not see the twist coming at the end, um, or towards the end. I really thought it was really well done, well acted. Really enjoyed it. So definitely, when you get some time, get a little bit of downtime, um, definitely check it out. Like I said, HBO. Definitely a good time.
So
So
we
let
got
me
we
know
got a problem. We have a problem
what.
in the chat. Legacy of Nerd. I love you, brother, but no, not Ghost Rose. Go Phillies. And I think he's
Yeah,
saying he's a
we control
Cowboys
this.
fan. We got two problems here. 2-1.
Yeah, we need to profile better.
Yeah,
Um, we really kind of need to profile a little bit
he
better.
might have to be
Look,
deleted.
and this is why we don't talk about sports on the pod because
It's just like religion.
it can
It's
bring
fucked
up
up,
it can
you
bring up a
know?
lot of feelings, um, and strong feelings at that. Look, we talk about a lot of nerdy things which I think we all agree on. While we have our opinions on nerdy things and what we like and what we don't, it's not nearly as visceral as when you get into like those conversations about sports
Right.
and your Cowboys and Eagles or the Phillies and Mets, those kinds of things that were really like you literally you get angry when you talk about it, and I don't want to do that here.
No.
So, but I will say this: the one thing we have not talked about yet is wrestling. I know
Yes.
you have some mixed
That's true.
emotions, and by the way, as a bit of a teaser at the end of this, we're going to debut a new segment that's going to our dear sweet Joseph. And
Who has been
he
officially
is
known in the past as the loose cannon.
yes.
And now the
So
loose cannon is going to go boom tonight on what I saw last night on Raw.
oh
But
boy,
that'll be a little bit later.
we'll talk
I'm
about that in a
fucking
minute.
pissed.
So I know you are. Look, grab something soft and sing to yourself quietly. So so talking about wrestling a little bit, I gotta tell you that right now I think the Bloodline is legitimately the hottest thing in any wrestling promotion.
It
It is
is.
by far the funniest thing I see.
They're very oozy.
Uh, they're very oozy. And the fact that they go into it every week to see who will break
Yeah.
was amazing. Like last weekend, the Friday night show last week, it's November 1st today, so it would have been just this past Friday. The whole segment where literally Jey Uso is supposed to be looking pissed off, but Sammy has created this whole Usi thing and literally made them all laugh in the middle
Yeah.
of what was supposed to be a serious bit.
Yeah.
Um, what's interesting is like this whole thing has created chaos backstage in WWE
Hmm.
because this was really only supposed to be a couple of week long stint with Sammy and the Bloodline.
Hmm.
But it is over so much, like it is white hot right now, and the sheer fact that they're making money on it, like they've put plans on hold. Like you haven't seen Kevin Owens on TV in weeks because he
Right.
was supposed to be part of this
Yeah.
whole thing
Yeah.
with Sammy at the end going after
Yep.
the Usos.
Yep.
They
The
put
tag
this all on
titles.
hold. He's sitting at home doing nothing. That's
Yeah.
why he showed up on NXT last week.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a single problem with SmackDown. I'll put that right out there. SmackDown has been a really good show lately. Last week, that you can take, if you can take Roman Reigns when Jey Uso said, "I don't give a damn what the tribal chief says," and you look at Roman Reigns' face, it's like, oh
That's a oh
shit,
shit moment.
what's
Yeah.
gonna happen? And then, excuse me, Sami Zayn steps in and goes, "Well, he hasn't been feeling very oozy lately." It was the first time in a long time where I actually laughed like organically, like
Like
you
ever?
got
Or
a lot
just
of
in
things
TV?
happening where they try to make you laugh, and you're like, "This is corny," which we'll get to
Mm-hmm.
later. But then you got this kind of shit here, where Sami Zayn is legitimately trying to break them live on television, and he did it. And
Mm-hmm.
I was never a big Sami Zayn fan. He has changed me. I love him now. I didn't like
Yeah.
him for the longest time, but he is one of my favorites now. I can't wait to see him talk on Friday night. He's awesome. So kudos to him for turning me around on him.
Well, and look, he made something out of nothing. He took
Yeah,
chicken shit, made chicken salad, essentially.
yeah, he sure
You
did.
know,
Yeah,
so I'll be interested to see where they go from here. I mean, look, the problem obviously is Raw, and look, we've been over this, you and I, and I think one of the things to talk about as we kind of segue into this, because I think this is going to go organically into the loose cannon segment.
It's going to go south.
Is Joe and I during the show, whether we're watching Raw or SmackDown, or if we're home on Fridays,
mm-hmm.
we will text back and forth during the show. Like, legitimately, we'll talk about what's going on, what are we seeing. Joe usually knows about halfway through I punch out because I'm a lightweight and fall asleep early. I got to be at work in the morning. But, it's one of those things where I get unfiltered Joe about, I don't like this. I want to do this differently. Joe and I have been writing our own, skits
Reps.
for years. Right. We've been doing our own, our own angles for years on chat. And what's crazy is a lot of people don't know that, I still even watch wrestling to this day, because I just don't. The only person I talk about it is him and like 3 other people. Not that I'm ashamed of it or anything, but, I have friends that are in the industry, but it's just the sheer fact of, there just hasn't been anything really cool to talk about until lately. With the Bray Wyatt return, the Cody Rhodes return, the Bloodline. I mean, there's a lot of things to really be excited about. But then we have Monday Night Raw. And at what I'd like to do at this point, and what Loose Cannon is going to be, is essentially Joe is going to give you his unfiltered feelings. And I'm not going to interject. I'm just going to let him go for, 3 or 4 minutes.
Unleash me.
And he is going to legitimately just let you have it. So, Joe, with that, the floor is yours.
So before my 3 minutes start, I just want to go back in time a little bit. I am very passionate about wrestling. Me and Scott both are. I remember we were little kids watching this shit, talking about it in school. So all I wanted is to be better. And I thought in July, when Triple H took over, that it was going to get better. And he has done some really good things. But then last night happened. He's brought back Cody Rhodes. Well, Cody Rhodes came back before him, but he brought back Bray Wyatt when we were at Extreme Rules. He's brought back a few people that were unjustly let go for what they told us was budget cuts, but we know what the real deal is. Vince McMahon just had a grudge on a lot of things that happened in NXT and did not want Triple H to succeed. And when AEW beat them on Wednesdays, everything fell apart. But Triple H has done some really good things. And then last night happened, and last week happened also. And I kind of let last week go. I thought it was a fluke. But this week, I legitimately got pissed off. I fell asleep. I wake up. I watched the rest of it before work, and I'm just shocked, like the things that I saw. So you have Nikki Cross coming back last week as Nikki Cross. No more of that Nikki Ash shit that they had going on. And then the first match back against Bianca, you have her legitimately pinned, roll out of the ring after the match, get out of Dodge while the rest of the storyline continues. Like, why would you have Nikki Ash just come back as Nikki Cross and then bury her right away by getting beat by pinfall? I mean, at least have Damage Control run in or something and interrupt the match and end it that way, or have somebody else face Bianca Belair and let her beat them, and then Nikki Cross come down and just beats everybody's ass. But don't have her lose in your first match. And then you come out, and then Alexa Bliss and Asuka, who you haven't seen in weeks, come out and say they want a tag title match. And the next thing you know, it's granted. Let's have a tag title match in which they win the tag titles. So what are you doing with Damage Control? You made a big deal out of them, and now you're going to have a rematch in Saudi. But why? Are you just going to keep bouncing the tag team titles back? You don't even need tag team titles. It's ridiculous to have women tag team titles and throw two women who are not a tag team together and let them win the titles. I love Asuka. I love Alexa, but they are singles competitors. I would rather them have an Intercontinental Women's Championship belt rather than have these worthless ass tag belts. Then you put a fucking pumpkin on Otis's head and he trots around the ring. And then, if that wasn't bad enough, you got R-Truth come out on a plastic horse. Yeah, it's Halloween. This is the kind of shit. This is the kind of shit that Vince McMahon and fucking Bruce Pritchard has done. And I swear, if those two didn't write last night's show, I don't know who did, because that was not Triple H's show last night. I could almost guarantee you that. And then you have Austin Theory. Why would you put Austin Theory? He has not won a match, I don't think, since he won the Money in the Bank. And then you put him in against Rollins, and Rollins beats him with the stomp. Okay, so what does that do for Austin Theory? Nothing. What does it do for Seth Rollins, really? Nothing, really. Why do you do that? That's another match that you did not need to have.
Well, they're talking about taking the not to interject, but
I thought you weren't going to interject.
Well, they're going to take the briefcase off of Austin Theory anyway, and they needed a way to turn Seth face, and this is the easiest way to do it.
The briefcase is worthless. Otis had it, and they gave it to someone else in the middle of it. Oh, and then Theory's is worthless. He's never going to cash in. Who's he going to cash in against? Braun Breaker? Big deal.
Well, they're talking about having him wait until the next Money in the Bank show.
Yeah, and then like the last minute, cash it in and lose, and then it's a waste. I mean, last night was a total waste. It pissed me off that I even recorded it.
Oh,
it was terrible. It was terrible. It was absolutely terrible.
Yeah, look, I get it. But look, candidly, it's better than anything AEW does.
Not last night.
Well,
I mean, AEW, they don't have very many storylines or anything, but
they have no storylines.
At least they don't have a fucking guy with a horse trotting around. They don't have a pumpkin on someone's head. They don't have.
We don't know what he's going to do tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know what to say. Last night was a total shit show. I don't like these Halloween, Christmas, Thanksgiving. They're going to do another one at Thanksgiving, I guarantee you. They're going to have a whole fucking Thanksgiving dinner out, and they're going to throw turkey at each other, and R-Truth, and all these guys that should be getting a chance. Oh, wait a minute. And then you had Mustafa Ali come out talking about the Miz's balls. Why would you do that?
It's been a storyline for years.
What man looks down at another man's junk and says, "You have small balls"? I don't remember ever doing that out with my buddies. Thank God. I don't know who writes this shit.
That's a lot of the guys that used to work
people love AEW. People love AEW, Dre. That's fine. Yeah, but to me, there's no storyline. They keep the greatest talent off of TV while he keeps his favorites on TV. And you got Miro sitting there doing nothing. You got Malachi Black basically having a nervous breakdown and getting out of there before he couldn't even take it anymore. You got Andrade having a. I don't even know why he took over Matt Hardy's group. It made no sense. Andrade had like 5 or 6 different valets and managers since he got there. They have no direction. They have one guy trying to make everybody happy, and he's soon realizing that he can't make everybody happy. Tony Khan cannot make them all happy. He's making Britt Baker happy. He's making Jericho happy. He's making a handful of others happy, but the rest of them, they're sitting there. And when they were in WWE, they were sitting there, and everybody was saying, "Oh well, they're sitting there. They might as well release them."
And he doesn't use Andrade because Andrade wants out.
Yeah, well, they're doing the same exact thing WWE. They're holding them hostage and wasting their career away. If you're not going to use them, fucking release them. Let them go back.
Here's the other thing. Then these guys shouldn't sign contracts.
They should.
But, look, at least we have Friday nights. Look,
But the way
SmackDown's been
AEW
solid.
started, it has changed drastically. I can honestly say that. I enjoyed it more in the pandemic era than I do
Mhm.
now.
Yeah,
When there was no
I've
fans
never,
out there, it was better.
I've never enjoyed it. But that's
I
just
did
me.
for and the most, I think I told you this before, the best shows they had were debuts of WWE guys coming over.
Yeah, because it was something new. It was, you were
Something new
thinking
and
they were going to be
fresh.
used in a different way, and
When
they've been
Andrade first
hot
came,
garbage.
Andrade comes with Vicky Guerrero, then she gets Chavo Guerrero, then she gets this guy and that guy and the other guy to manage him, and I don't even know who's with him now. He hasn't been on
Mhm.
TV. It's a shit show. He needs to get his
So
act together and get some storylines, and then he lets now Jericho is running the company pretty much.
yeah, which is a nightmare in itself.
I mean, he's running the
Yeah.
company.
Mhm.
CM Punk was
He's the
running
head
the
of
company.
creative. He's the head of creative.
CM Punk even said in that press conference, "I'm trying to run a company here."
Yeah,
That's
we're
what he
trying to run a
said.
business.
He's trying to run a business.
Mhm.
No, you're not, dude.
So let me ask you this: do you think once the release for Punk goes through, do you think he goes back to
I read
WWE?
today that he's retiring from wrestling. I don't think we need him over in WWE. I
We
think the
don't.
only thing WWE needs to do is stay away from this cartoonish bullshit that they're doing and make the main roster the same way that Black and Gold were a few years ago. And they were
I
headed
think.
that way until the past 2-3 weeks. And now it took a
Look,
very, very big dump the last 3 weeks.
I want to just see how the rest of the year goes. Look, at least there's still Friday, so we know there's a lot of potential.
And you know what?
So,
I know the Saudi show is taken away from the storylines, and they got to get through that. They
mhm.
got to make them happy. They got to give them their show. They got to make their money. That's fine. But after this Saudi show, he's better really step it up with this Survivor Series War Game shit, because we are going to watch it live, and you're invited,
Yep,
Scott. You can watch it live with us. I might even be with you that night watching it at my house or
probably,
yours. And
probably.
me and Dre want to do an online live show watching it, and
We should live stream while we're watching it.
that's what
And
we plan on. I think Dre
yeah,
is working on that. We're talking about it, but they really need to step it up, because
yeah. No,
he
I
was
agree.
doing really well, and in the last 3 weeks, man, I don't know if is Vince back, because if I didn't know any better, I think he's
I
back.
hope
They need
not.
to get rid of Pritchard
Although,
too. His ass got to go.
well, I'm sure that's coming. So,
I hope, because
um,
he's there lingering, and I don't like what's going on there. And that's my rant for this week.
all right. Well, you can
Yeah,
take
I
your
could go
Ritalin
on,
now.
but I won't. The Phillies are coming on.
Yes, we're a few minutes away. I'll be a few minutes late for first pitch. It's all good.
Yeah, I got a few plugs
So,
to make at the end. So
I wanna ask real quick, who do you think Uncle Howdy is?
I was originally saying Barry Windham, and you know this
Hmm.
because I think if they could pull that off, where Barry Windham would come in and play like a Kevin Sullivan type character and try to turn Bray Wyatt back and forth into what he wants him to be, I thought that would be a really, really good storyline. But I don't know how interested Barry is in coming back into wrestling.
Well,
I
look,
really don't.
I think everybody that you talk to or everything that you read, Bo Dallas is the big name because of the earring last week.
Yeah,
But I sent you something today
yeah,
that
but
was very interesting. That somebody did a side by side of
yeah,
Aleister Black or Malachi Black
yeah,
and the guy's eyes in the mask, and it was a dead match.
yes, it was.
Look,
I didn't
could
think
it
of that,
be?
but it was.
Could it be? I mean, look, I'm hoping that's who it is, but at the same time, House of Black also was tweeting as a group over the weekend. So, look, this could be
Uh,
one great curveball.
it
It could
could
be
be
an
a
amazing
curveball. It
curveball.
could be a coincidence, but it
It
also
could be.
could be like if you're Tony Khan, say you're Aleister Black. I'm calling him Aleister. I'm Tony Khan. If you're coming to
Hmm.
me and tell me how unhappy you are and how many issues you're having, just even sticking around and being in your company, I would have the heart to let you go. So maybe in the background somewhere, Tony
But
Khan
he
may have
doesn't.
said, you know what?
He
I
doesn't
don't
want him to
want you
go
to be.
back to WWE. He
Huh?
doesn't want anybody going back to work for Triple H.
No, but you know what? You can't control the world. Take care of the people you're taking. You're kissing you're kissing certain people's ass on your roster, big time. Continue to kiss their ass and let these people go do what they want to do. Don't hold them back. Don't hold them hostage. I know it's a contract. I know you're supposed to. It's a sticky situation. I know you sign a contract. I know you got to be the you want to finish it out, but if he was promised things from the beginning and they aren't, I mean, they haven't been in, I mean, the House of Black, can you imagine what even Vince McMahon or Triple H would have done with the production of that group?
Sure.
And they're not getting that where they're at. They're not, and like I know 2 of the 3. I don't know much about Brody King. I don't know how good or bad he is, whatever. I know Buddy Matthews and I know
Julia Hart.
Yeah, and Alistair, they're awesome, good wrestlers. They deserve the best, and they're not getting it.
Yeah.
I mean, they're on Dark and they're on Rampage. They're not even on the main show.
Well, I'll be interested to see what they do with them when they come back. But
yeah,
look, we're up against it. We've been talking for a little over an hour. We promised we'd try to keep this to an hour. So what, Joe? What are you plugging this week?
Okay, so first and foremost, Thursday night, and let me see if I can get this straight. 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central, 6 Pacific. Overgrown third graders on YouTube. We're going to do our second mental health awareness roundtable, hosted by T3 Collects, Carlos. It'll be myself, EC, T3. JB and JD's Toy Trunk. There'll be a whole bunch of us on there. I'm sorry if I forgot anybody. But we're going to be talking about struggles that we've had, how we get through them. And we're hoping just to help people if they have anything going on in their life mentally and or anybody that they know and love, maybe try to help them get through things and not have to go through some of the things that we went through in our stories. So yeah, join us there. Overgrown third graders, Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern. Also, next Sunday, myself and EC, we'll have our podcast, Well That Effin' Figures, every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 Central. We're going to go over what we're going to talk about during the week. But usually we just do a little, little coffee discussion. We just talk about whatever comes up. One thing leads into another, and we just go with the flow. So that we have those things. Also, check me out on YouTube at JMC_collects. I have just put a new video out, a toy hunt that I did the last week. And I actually am working on my 4th one as we speak. So check those out. I will have 4 out. I have 3 out now. Check out EC Collecting on his T3. Sui's Geek Vault. I might have said that wrong, but Dre, he has some videos out. Check him out. There's a bunch of guys that have been really supportive of me. I wanted to make the announcement for them. Check their videos out as well. And but most importantly, bigger than any of that, Thursday, Overgrown third graders at 9 p.m. Eastern. If we can help one more person through a difficult situation, that's what we're aiming to do. So thanks, T3, if you're listening and watching or will be watching. Thanks for putting that together again. We appreciate it.
No, absolutely. And awesome. And look, for those of you that are watching, look, like and subscribe on the YouTube channel, the Facebook page. Hit us up on our socials. Let us know what you think, ideas, topics you want to talk about. We really kind of want this to be interactive. Like I said, keep an eye out. I have a new true crime pod coming out in a couple of weeks called 50 States of Evil, where we're going to look at different crimes in different states that, aren't the big ones that get talked about all the time. But, I'll let everybody know when that hits the YouTube page as well. Thank you all for tuning in this week. Joe, as always, we'll be talking soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you, everybody.
Again, Talk again in 2 weeks. Go Phils, go Birds.
Go Phils, go Birds. Have a good one.